Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out the smirking revenge of the Sisters of Mercy in This Corrosion. No British cat.
Perhaps it's the rain, but Britain has produced its fair share of darkly hued pop groups. From Black Sabbath to Bauhaus, The Cure through to the Bunnymen and Radiohead, we're a nation obsessed with gloom.
Interesting.
During the 1980s, one band that truly embodied this mood was the Sisters of Mercy. Fronted by Andrew Eldritch, their only consistent member, the group in their original incarnation makes loud guitars, dry ice, and seriously danceable moodiness to thrilling effects. But it wouldn't be until 1987's Floodland and its ridiculously overblown lead single that they proved that Goth, in inverted commas, could indeed assault Top the Pops. This is New British Canon, and this is the story of This Corrosion.
Okay, y'all. I clicked on this video and I don't think I've ever heard of the Sisters of Mercy. I've definitely never heard This Corrosion. Although that lead singer with the slick back hair and the sunglasses and all that looked kind of familiar. I don't know anything about these people. It's funny how he said Britain's a country obsessed with doom. I wonder if British people see themselves that way. There's a fair bit of doom in America, but Brits being obsessed with doom does fit in with the stereotypes of the sense of humor and a lot of the music like he's mentioning. Anyway, I'm interested to hear This Corrosion and the Sisters of Mercy. The origins of the Sisters of Mercy, 1980 to 85, glam rock, not goth, and first and last and always, song Alice, the Sisters of Mercy. This is my first time hearing the Sisters of Mercy. Hit me.
The Sisters.
Okay, I heard a kick drum, a hi-hat, and at the very end some toms. So I know they got drums. Sounds like a drum machine. That actually informs a lot. Okay, sorry to stop. So say
Sisters of Mercy were formed by vocalist Andrew Taylor and guitarist Mark Pearman in Leeds in 1980. Their name was taken from a Leonard Cohen song from the Robert Altman film McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
All the Sisters of Mercy, they are not departed or gone.
Soon though, as to not get confused with the Duran Duran guitarist, Taylor would change his name to something more unknowable in the form of Eldritch, while Pearman would take the more working-class hero aka of Gary Marks.
Okay, hang on. There's a couple things I want to look up already. And he said like 3 sentences. First of all, Leeds. Show me on 'em. There it is. Look at this interesting perimeter. It looks like a tree. Oh, very close to Manchester. Manchester! It's a landlocked city. Look at this. That looks like a haunted mansion, but I think it's a cathedral. Art. Dog art. At that. Beautiful. Oh, more art. Architecture. Cathedral. Clock tower. Oh, there's a river. I don't know why that's funny, but when I heard myself say it, it sounded like an idiot. Oh, there's a river. Where's the river? Oh, there's the river. Yes, what's the river called? The river It's the river I'm sorry, the river what? The river The river Oh, no, this is clear my throat. It sounds like a Monty Python thing. Y'all, Bradford's over there to the west, just waiting to take over Leeds. Okay, sorry, this is stupid. What are these guys' names again now? Andrew Taylor and Mark Pearman. What is the Duran Duran guitarist's name? John Taylor. Okay. That's different enough, I think. You know, I don't think I've heard many Leonard Cohen songs, but I always hear people say that he's a really great songwriter. From what I just heard, his voice sounded really endearing. I just want to hear that again.
The Robert Altman film McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
All the Sisters of Mercy, they are not departed or gone.
Pearman would take the more working-class hero aka of Gary Marks. The group was started with limited ambition. We just wanted to get played on the radio once. The holy grail was to get on the John Peel show. I'm a thug musically, self-taught, and at first we were awful, but being awful helps you to be different.
That's a great point. For my American friends, John Peel is a British DJ and kind of a kingmaker. If you get on the John Peel show, you got there. You made it. They just wanted to be on the radio once. That's not hard to do. Now it is. Oh my God, now. But back then, I don't think that was that hard to do.
The group's initial influences ran the gamut of glam rock, Roxy Music, Slade, and Bowie, as well as Motorhead and the Psychedelic Furs. Eldritch's voice boomed with a foreboding Lou Reed or Leonard Cohen quality.
Tell her she can have it all.
Though they
Okay, that's starting to sound familiar. Have I heard of The Corrosion? Maybe I have heard of this, such as I wonder if maybe I saw them on one of those Tarp of the Pops. I wonder if I saw them on one of those Top of the Pops videos about these are the best Top of the Pops performances or the weirdest or something.
He appeared at the same time as Bauhaus, Alien Sex Fiend, and the 4AD stable. Despite similar influences and a pitch black aesthetic, the sisters resolutely refuted that they were gothic rock, and more a direct rock and roll continuation from Gene Vincent, the Rolling Stones, and the Stooges. I was never gothic. The sisters' stuff was different. We always wrote tunes, had a song, because I have a great respect for songs. And I don't think any of these what you would call gothic bands ever did. They were just a noise, with a few chains and a bit of black tat.
Okay. I wonder what gothic bands he's talking about, because I'm trying to think of all the gothic bands I know, and they have songs, but maybe he means like a popish oriented song. Is that what he means? I don't know. Let's move on.
By 1981, the group's full lineup had been rounded out by Craig Adams on bass, Ben Gunn on guitar, and Dr. Avalanche on drums. The latter being a collective of drum machines and sequencers, so that the band didn't need to deal with another ego. They released an array of singles and EPs during 1982 and 1983.
Using a drum machine in that sense reminds me of Echo and the Bunnymen. Did they do that? Echo was the drum machine.
They released an array of singles and EPs during 1982 and 1983, highlights being the Dark Grooves of Alice. And their
Yo, that sounds like Joy Division to me. Doesn't it? Listen to it again and think Joy Division. I'll sing a little bit over it too.
highlights being the Dark Grooves of Alice. And their first true epic, Temple of Love. But it was in a live setting that the band truly came to life. Amid their bass-driven, moody originals were covers of proto-punk staples, like the Velvet Underground's Sister A, and the Stooges' 1969, but also less rock and roll cliches like Dolly Parton's Jolene and Hot Chocolate's Emma.
It says Peel Session. They made it, y'all. They got on that dang old John Peel.
Played tongue-in-cheek, but still deeply affecting. Unlike the vast majority of post-punk bands they'd get lumped in with, the Sisters of Mercy played with a heavy dose of irony, seemingly a satire of rock and roll itself, with their dry ice machine flooding the stage, and Eldritch a silhouette complete with black leather cowboy hats.
I bet it's not a dry ice machine. I bet it's a fog machine. Dry ice smoke doesn't fill the room like that, you know? But it's funny to say.
By 1984, the Sisters of Mercy had more than surpassed their modest aspirations, having played the John Peel show twice, and even signed a distribution deal with Warner Records.
A distribution deal? Okay. Y'all, that's better than a record deal. Record companies are just a bank, and they loan you money to record a record, and you gotta pay it back. But a distribution deal, they're gonna help you get it out there. You make your own record, but they're gonna help you get it out there, and they take a cut. It's a better deal.
Gunn had left in October 1983, amid musical differences, and had been replaced with former Dead or Alive member Wayne Hussey. Their debut album, First and Last and Always, was recorded in 1984 with Cure producer Dave M. Allen. As was the case up to this point, Eldritch wrote all the lyrics for the album, most referencing his split with his long-term girlfriend and his fears that Marks might soon too be walking away. The album.
Whoa, his voice. It does sound like he's making fun of it a little bit, doesn't it?
The album was released through Eldritch's imprint, Merciful Release, in March 1985, and reached the top 20 of the UK album chart, with its 3 singles all just missing out on the top 40.
So he had his own label. It said imprint, but that's a label, right?
They were in grasping distance of the mainstream. Then, confirming Eldritch's fears, Marks left, forming Ghost Dance in the process. Then, a few months later, the rest of the band left, and Sisters of Mercy were no more.
Oh my god, that's not what I expected. I expected them to just drop off one every few years. But it sounds like they were like, we're out of here. The Sisterhood and the Sisterhood, 1985 to 86, Giving Ground, Gift and the Mission, song Giving Ground, the Sisterhood.
The departure of Hussey and Adams happened in October 1985, during the initial sessions for the Sisters' second album, provisionally titled Left for Mission and Revenge. Once again, it can be put down to musical differences. Hussey had written some songs for the album, but Eldritch rejected them. Said Hussey, "We got to doing the second album, and Andrew said, I'm not singing any of your songs. That's what it boils down to. Craig walked out of rehearsals, and a day later, I did. He was listening to things like Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks, Foreigner, and there was us listening to Motorhead or whatever, and it showed."
Okay. The comment he made earlier about goth bands not playing songs makes sense now. I see what he means. Because he was listening to Fleetwood Mac and Foreigner. Like, mainstream at the time, right? But the other guys in the band were into the metal. You know, if your bandmate comes to you and says, hey, I have this song we should play. I wrote it. Let's play it. And then you say, no. You kind of expect that they're gonna dip after a while, you know?
Eldritch's main criticism was that Hussey's songs weren't about anything, more a grab bag of rock and roll cliches duct taped together, and therefore he felt uncomfortable singing them. The day his bandmates left, Eldritch had phoned up bassist Patricia Morrison of the Gun Club to join his side for whatever was next. But for the most part, Eldritch retired to Hamburg and attempted to recover from the sisters' previous relentless touring schedule.
Hamburg's a pretty hardcore party town from what I understand. I've never been there, but that's what I hear. I want to party in Hamburg. Now it sounds like maybe those guys leaving was a good thing because they were writing crap songs. What are they offering, right?
Believing that they had more right to their former band's name than its founders, Hussey and Adams went off, formed another band, and began trying to get a record deal, firstly as the Sisters of Mercy, before a legal scramble made them go with the Sisterhood. Said Eldritch, "We had an agreement no one would use the name when the band went its separate ways.
And then they did.
After they'd been touting their demo round, getting nowhere under all sorts of other names, they began to claim rights to it, which patently had to be stopped. And when they wanted to be called the Sisterhood, there was nothing I could do but be the Sisterhood before them. The only way to kill that name was to use it, then kill it."
Yeah. Why not let them be the Sisterhood? Right? That's different enough. Damn.
Eldritch, as the Sisterhood, rushed out a single in the form of Giving Ground in January 1986.
What you have lost can never be found.
Due to the much talked about battle of the sisterhoods in the press, it went straight to the top of the independent singles charts. Critically though, the single was panned, many claiming Eldritch was making it bad on purpose. But by the end of February, Hussey and Adams had seen that they weren't going to be able to use the sisterhood, so they instead chose The Mission, seemingly to taint Eldritch's Left on Mission and Revenge album title. And Hussey began to wear a black leather cowboy hat, denying Eldritch that as well. Eldritch's The Sisterhood released the album Gift in July, supposedly from second album outtakes. On it was the track Jihad, which features the first collaboration between Eldritch and Morrison. She provides a spoken word phrase that is repeated throughout.
2, 5, 0, 0, 0.
Over a proto-techno instrumental. This was another pointed assault on the men in the mission. £25,000 was the amount of money that was supposed to be split between Eldritch and the mission as part of their former publishing deal contract.
This is getting dirty and petty. Wow. Guys, just let it go. Right? Just let it go.
Eldritch released an album with the intent that the full amount would go to him. Fittingly, gift means poison in German. Before deciding to save it for later, Eldritch had planned to release a further 12-inch single as the Sisterhood. It was called This Corrosion.
Wow. Dang, y'all. Why's it gotta be like this? Why you gotta be at each other's throats? Maybe that's, sometimes what makes people good artists also makes them not great friends. The creation of This Corrosion, 1986 to 87, bombast, Jim Steinman, and 40-piece choirs song This Corrosion, the Sisters. Okay, we're finally hearing it.
This Corrosion had been demoed by Eldritch as early as 1985. As the Sisterhood debacle had died down, Eldritch decided fuck it, reclaimed the Sisters of Mercy name, and started work on a new album, of which This Corrosion would be the musical and thematic centerpiece. It's about the idiots, full of sound and fury, who stampede around this world signifying nothing. It's about people who sing about the revolution, or selling it short. About people who sing about the corrosion of things, while they themselves are falling apart. People who miss the point. It's also stupidly over-the-top bombastic, but rightly so. But really, Eldritch had a more direct target in mind. After it took Hussey and Adams 2 months to work out that Jihad was aimed at them, Eldritch felt he needed to produce a more obvious fuck you, with the group's signature satirical edge clearly slashing at those that had betrayed him.
Wow.
Lines like, implying that the mission's sound is a corrupted copy of the Sisters of Mercy.
Wow, the mission, whoever's singing, I don't remember the name, but they really lifted our boy's vocal style, but they don't do it as well, do they? It's not quite the same. This is crazy. I wish they could have worked it out. I don't know.
The majority of the lyrics were written to be expertly vacuous, to parody Hussey and his cliched, meaningless words.
You're teasing your taunt with the pleasure of pain. Kill the king when love is the law. And the wheels turn round. Get in the ring.
Sometimes it takes me a week to write a lyric. Sometimes it takes me a month. It takes him about 5 minutes because all he has to do is get the right book out. I don't think he ever felt a song should mean anything. With This Corrosion as means to skewer Hussey's irony-free rock and roll pomposity, all 9 minutes plus needed to be musically as ridiculously OTT as possible. And who better to push the limits of rock and roll camp than the guy that composed Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell? Eldritch had previously contacted Jim Steinman to produce a studio version of an ABBA cover for the Sisters of Mercy in 1985. Their schedules hadn't worked out, so it never happened. But this was the perfect project to bring him in.
When the time came to put This Corrosion out, he was the only person we talked to.
And why?
Because he really knows how to make wonderfully stupid records. Totally outrageous.
Yeah.
And you think it's a stupid record?
Yeah, every time you think to yourself, do we really want to go this far? You say to Jim, are you sure about this? And everybody else will go, don't do it. Jim goes, more.
One of the more flamboyant touches on the track, as per Eldritch's suggestion, was a 40-piece choir provided by the New York Choral Society that opens and punctuates the track. With the Sisters of Mercy Mark II lacking members, This Corrosion was played almost entirely by Eldritch. Synthesizers, sequencers, and Dr. Avalanche's unswerving backing, creating an almost industrial heft, lacking from Mark I.
Dr. Avalanche is the drum machine, right? Just want to point that out. Something else, Jim, yeah, I'm fascinated by the reason they chose Jim Steinman. Because he knows how to make a stupid record. Like stupid big, like shamelessly gigantic. There's something to that, you know? It sounds like it would be fun to do. Just keep putting crap on there.
Suggestion opens and punctuates the track.
Dramatic.
With the Sisters of Mercy Mark II lacking members, sequencers, and Dr. Avalanche's unswerving backing, creating an almost industrial heft, lacking from Mark I. The guitar solo was played by a colleague of Jim Steinman, Eddie Martinez. He'd previously provided session guitar work on Robert Palmer's Addicted to Love. And Run DMC's
Eddie Martinez loves that whammy bar. You mean this lady's not playing the guitar solo? You mean she's not playing the guitar?
And Run DMC's Rockbox. Despite being prominently in the music video and the promotional cycle for the parent album Floodland, Patricia Morrison doesn't play on the track. I intended her to, but she didn't make the cuts. She was still a key part of the band's visual identity in this period, on the album cover and in the videos. I didn't have a band, so I couldn't go on tour. So I did a year of promo for the album, and it was nice to have somebody answer half the questions and look pretty. Not that I didn't look pretty in those days.
Wow, she didn't make the cut. I wonder if she had issues with that. I feel like most bass players would. You know, Smashing Pumpkins did that on their album Siamese Dream. They have a bass player named Darcy Retzky, but Billy Corgan, the lead singer and guitar player, played all the bass parts. I think it happens a lot, actually. Oh, also, Sex Pistols. Sid Vicious was a horrible bass player. So, the guitar player played his bass, right? I forgot his name. Floodland and Everything After, 1987. Charts, Top of the Pops, and Enduring Influence. Song Lucretia, My Reflection, The Sisters of Mercy.
In January 1987, The Mission had their biggest hit single ever, with Wasteland. Which reached number 11 in the UK singles chart. 9 months later, This Corrosion was released, joined with its Blade Runner meets Mad Max but Goth music video. It beat The Mission and all past Sisters singles to a lofty number 7. Due to this, the band, i.e. Eldritch, Morrison, and some session musicians, made their first ever appearance on Top of the Pops. But with all 3 singles from Floodland making the top 20, it would not be their last. I'd grown up with Top of the Pops, so that was like an Oscar to me. But we were on that show so often it got to be a drag. And we always seemed to be on when Shaking Stevens was on. We've been called a lot of things, usually something I heartily disagree with. But we've not often been called a pop band, and we were on Top of the Pops a lot. Floodland was released in November 1987, topping out at number 9 in the UK album charts.
Pop can mean a lot of stuff, can't it? You know, the Beatles were a pop band, but now they're considered classic rock. Things change. Things change.
And was later certified gold in both the UK and Germany. Even though Andrew Eldritch hates the term, the Sisters of Mercy furthered goth into the mainstream. Some of their fans may have felt that their new pop direction wasn't for them, but their success spawned their own set of followers. Steve Albini has stated that the group's original drum machine driven lineup inspired him to start Big Black.
Wow.
9 Inch Nails, Typo Negative and Marilyn Manson also took notes. This Corrosion even helped Paradise Lost find their sound. To a lot of people today it probably sounds ludicrous, but it came along at the right time. That's why we incorporated it into our music when we were writing the Gothic album in 1990. We like the pomposity, the overblownness of it. Despite formerly being one of the most interesting live bands in the country, Sisters Mark II didn't tour again until 1990, for their last official album, Vision Thing. By this point, they were big enough to fill Wembley Arena 2 nights in a row. It's been Eldritch's intention to never release another album, but the band have toured whenever possible ever since. That said, This Corrosion stands as the defining statement, an anthem for Eldritch's megalomania, and an enduring reminder that when you take his mission, all that is left is revenge.
You hit the nail on the head. He was out for revenge. That has got to be one of the most vengeful music industry stories I've ever heard. Wow. We're the Sisters of Mercy. We're the sisterhood. No, we're the sisterhood. Let's listen to some of their music. Show me your number music. I wonder what it's, if I type in the sisterhood, what comes up? Which one is this? Oh, okay. This is, Eldritch's. Is that his name? I forgot his name already. Eldritch. Is this in a Giving Ground? Oh, it's only 5 songs. Okay. So if I type in the Sisters of Mercy, which albums show up? Oh, okay. 4 albums. Well, really 3, right? Yeah. They have an Essentials playlist. What's the first? Lucretia, My Reflection More. The Corrosion's number 3. Yeah, it's, I hear it as pop, you know? I know it's supposed to be, well, I guess it's not supposed to be goth, but I guess I thought it would be more rock. But when I hear this, I hear pop. I hear a drum machine, some synths, and a bass guitar. You know who his singing also reminds me of is Crash Test Dummies. Remember them? Once there was this boy who couldn't get him. I do not want to be on that guy's bad side. Wonder if he has testicular remnants to get that low. I'm curious to know what it would have been like to follow this band or this group of people at the time. It must have been kind of like watching a soap opera. Oh, did you see what the Sisters of Mercy broke up? Yeah, and did you see that the Sisterhood came out with a drama? Did any of y'all ever see them live? Let me know in the comments. Well, y'all, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.